Listen-only mode.
Good morning. My name is Navjot Singh Gill, and I'm an application engineer with Solid PLM Solutions. I want to welcome you to Solid PLM Lunch Bytes series. These sessions are designed to briefly explore capabilities within Solid Edge that are often overlooked. Today's session will be on framing. If you have any questions regarding to this session, please write them down and send us via email. We have a lot of you online today, so you will be in listen-only mode so that we don't get any feedback from speakerphones, etc. Once again, today's topic is framing. As far as agenda is concerned, will be the first half will concern we'll work on some 3D sketching tools inside framing. Then once we have our 3D sketches done, we will we'll put some frame components on those sketches. Then we'll talk about some customization, customizing cross sections and conditions, talk about some hotkeys, and last we'll talk about some drafting with respect to framing. The first thing we'll cover is 3D sketching. Now, inside framing environment, there's a group called segment group, and what it does is it gives you flexibility to choose different axes in order to create your 3D sketches. And also what you can do is you can define multiple planes inside your sketch. Usually what happens, I'm sure you worked on your assembly sketches or port environment sketches. So we select a reference plane and our sketch is tied on that reference plane, so it's a 2D sketch. But here it gives you more flexibility in terms of defining the direction and the plane. So as you can see that we can toggle between different axes with the help of Z key on your keyboard, and also we can toggle between different planes by hitting X on the keyboard. So let's take a look of these 3D sketching. So as I told you, these segments tools are inside framing. In order to activate framing environment, inside tool there is a group, environs group. Inside the group is the icon on the bottom, frame design. So what I've done is I put on the icon on the ribbon, so I can just select the frame design icon. So that changes the ribbon. So all your frame specific commands are listed now. So here, as we move from left to right, you'll see that it gives you ability to create your own sketches, since I already have some sketches. And what I'm going to do is create some 3D sketches in order to link the top sketch with the bottom sketch. So you'll see there is a group here called segments, and that's where our sketching tools are located. Now, the first icon is called Path Express. Now, I find this icon very useful in the wire harness. So what it does is, if you select this icon, you can select the point, and it gives you an arrow. So what this arrow is, it gives you different options in order to connect these 2 points. So if I click on this arrow, it will give you different position, what type of sketch you want. Right? So in framing environment, I found that these manual tools are very useful. What you can do is, in this case, I'm going to select this line segment, and this triad comes up. So this is not assembly origin. You can change it, like by selecting from the origin, you can place it anywhere you want to. So what it does, it gives just to give you directions for your sketching. These different axes and planes will be used. So the first thing I'm going to do is just grab this point, and I want to lock myself down to this YZ plane. So if I keep my cursor between the axes, you'll see that the plane highlights. On contrary, if I keep my cursor on the axis, I can define different axes. So this is a shortcut. Now, if I want to lock myself down to this YZ, all I have to do is just click on this YZ plane. And now, in order to give an extend, all I have to do is grab this bottom sketch. You'll see it automatically snaps. So I will repeat this process on other sketches. And there are a variety of tools which you can do, like a simple sketching tool, and you can use copy sketch or tear off sketch. But I find this segment tool is very useful as far as 3D sketching is concerned. Now in this case, what I'm going to do is select the axis instead of plane. So what I do is just select the point. Instead of clicking on the plane, I'm going to select the axis. So what it will do is it will restrict the sketch to z-axis. So in this case, I want to go down, and the extent will be defined with by the sketch. And now in order to move left, I will just select y-axis and then give it an extend. Similarly, I can get the same sketch here by defining the axis and the extend. All right. So as you can see how easily we can create these sketches, and in the top view you'll see that all these sketches are connected to the bottom sketch. So from now onwards we'll talk about more cross-section specific stuff. So now in order to put a cross-section on this sketch, what we'll do is we'll select this frame command, and what it does, it starts up a wizard and it's asking me different options. So here first I will keep all the options as default and hit OK. Now the next step is defining cross-section. Now in order to define cross-section, let me go back to the slide here. When you install Solid Edge, some of the cross-sections are already installed. By default it gets installed on your programs folder. So but if you don't like these cross-sections, or you want to define your custom cross-sections, you can do that. So these cross-sections are based on different type of standards. As you can see, different folder, ANSI, DIN. All right, so in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a round tubing and as a cross-section. So I'm just going to select the standard. In this case, inside a round tubing folder, I'm going to select this cross-section as a round tube and hit open. Now it gives me a message, and this message is very important. Now what it says is if down the road you uninstall Solid Edge and you install the next release, what it does, it removes the frame folder which I just showed you. So all the assemblies which are using the cross-section from that folder will be affected with this change. So what it's saying is, if you want, it's always a good practice to save this frame folder in a permanent location, like it either can be on network or the place from where you are saving your assembly files. So I'm going to say don't show this message, and now what I can do is I can window over the entire sketch and hit accept, and you'll see that it automatically creates frames, a round tubing frame for us. Now one thing to note here is the way these frames are interacting at the intersection point. So what I'm going to do is in order to show you that, I'm going to hide this component, and you'll see that frames automatically create these cutouts. So we don't have to worry about cutouts. Similarly here at the corner where three frames are intersecting, what I'm going to do is just hide one component, and you'll see that all these cutouts automatically created. So that was a very simple example where we used round tubing as an example on our sketches. So now the next section we'll talk about some other cross sections and we'll put them, and I'll show you how you can manipulate, customize the cross sections of these frames. So again, I'm going to launch my frame environment, and in this case what I'm going to do is select a component. Now here we'll modify some of the settings inside options. So by default it gives me an option for miter that's turned on. So there are different options for corner treatment, for example butt 1 and butt 2. So in order to understand the difference, I have a slide here. So the default nature creates a miter corner intersection, and as you can see in the slide, the intersection of these two frames, it creates this miter corner. So that's by default nature. So if for some reason we don't like it or we want to modify it, we can change, these are the other two settings, but 1 and but 2. So what they do is, if I select but 1, the longest member is trimmed against, as you can see on the screenshot. And if I choose but 2, the shortest member is trimmed against. So these are two different toggle treatments and treatments. So there are other treatments such as radius. So what it does is it creates a single bent frame component if you choose this radius end treatment. So if you choose to have a no corner treatment, as you can see here, in the bottom left corner, there's a significant amount of interference because I haven't defined any corner treatment. So if you want to have an extended corner treatment, you can just enter the distance and you can have an extend, or if you want, for some reason, if you want a trimmed frame component at the intersection, you can enter the distance. Alright, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this but 1 setting, and the next step is defining the cross-section component. So in this example, I'm going to select the C channel and select this path, right? So there are different options here, like single or chain. So what I'm going to do is just pick this single and place this C sections here. So if we zoom in here, you'll see this cross section is connected to the sketch at the bottom left corner. So what are the settings which are determining this type of default nature? And we'll talk about that later on in detail. So what if I want to rotate this cross section? So the first step was selecting the path. The next step is modifying cross section. So if I select this modify cross section step, and it gives me an option to rotate the cross section. So if I want, for some reason, if I want to change this from 0 to 45, all I have to do is just hit enter or tab. It's going to rotate the cross section. Maybe if I want to do 60, so it will rotate. All right. So now later on, if you decide to include some other sketches, or what you can do is go back to the path step, and instead of single, you can select chain and select this outside chain. Hit accept. As you can see how quickly it placed all the frames on the outer sketch. So since my my corner treatment, the global corner treatment was but 1, that's why you see all these corners are lined up this way. So if you want a specific type of corner treatment, so what you can do is, the next step is modify end condition. So maybe what I want to do is I want to modify the condition, the end condition here on this intersection. I can select the point and then I can give it a condition of miter. So what it will do is it will only affect this particular joint, keeping the other defaulted to the global setting. Right. So now what we're going to do is we will change some cross sections here. Now, previously we saw how we can rotate the cross section. Now here we'll see the way how we can change the snap point of this cross section with respect to the sketch. So in order to get more functionality in, there are some tabs here. So what I'm going to do is just check these options, and you'll see if I check these options, all these dots comes up. So what are these dots? And this is a major enhancement in ST3. It gives you color codes for different type of dots. So what are these color codes? Now if I uncheck all other options but the default snap point, it will tell me what's the default snap point that is highlighted in blue for this cross section. And if I highlight this current snap point, it will show you what's the current. Just because these two are coincident, that's why you saw blue. Now if for some reason I want a centroid of this cross section, all I have to do is just highlight the centroid option. So it will show me this centroid option, and I can use this dot in order to line this cross section to this sketch. And if I want some more functionality, I can just click on this this range box. It gives me a variety of points here, 9 points, and I can select the point I want this sketch to snap. So just by clicking on the point, I can snap the cross section of the frame. So if I want to rotate, last time we saw I just entered the angle, but there is a shortcut key, and that key is N. So if you press N on your keyboard, the cross section is going to rotate 90 degrees. So what I'm going to do is, you don't have to learn this. All this feedback is down at the bottom. It tells you all the shortcuts, N for rotate and F for flip. So what I'm going to do is press N on the keyboard, and you'll see that this frame rotates 90 degrees. If for some reason you don't like this and you want to flip this frame on the other side, there are two ways. Either you can hit this hotkey, or there's an icon here on the top, flip cross section, and just by clicking on this flip option, you can change the cross section of the entire frame. All right. So all these options were added in ST3. So now what I'm going to do is place some more frames on this the other sketches I have. So what I'm going to do is select a different component this time, and I'm going to select the path first. So I'll just grab these sketches, and inside the corner treatment, I'll make sure I have butt, and I can select the cross-section part. So in this case, I'm going to select this I-beam and place this on this on the highlighted sketch. So I'm going to repeat some of the steps here if I want to modify the way this I-beam is connected. So all I have to do is select this modify cross-section step, and then with the help of snap points, I can change the orientation, and then I can rotate this cross-section by hitting N on the keyboard. So as you can see, that it's very easy to customize the frames based on their cross-sections. So what if I don't want any corner treatment? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the same corner, but this case I can also window select these sketches. And here, in this case, I don't want any corner treatment, so I don't want any miter or butt, and hit OK. And I can place these frames. So now, as you can see that, if I move these frames down, there will be significant amount of interference, and I'll show you how we can change that interference. So again, I'm going to change this this cross section and snap it to this point. As you can see that there is a significant amount of interference. So in order to take care of interference, there is a very powerful tool here inside option. That tool is coping. So what you can do is just by checking this option on, and if you use the settings a lot, what you can do is you can save these settings as default, so that you don't have to change these options every time you start putting your frames. So if I hit OK, you'll see that it automatically cope the frames with respect to the larger frame. So in order to get a better picture, so what I'm going to do is just show you these components. You'll see it automatically got trimmed. All right. And one thing I would like to mention here is all these frames, they are tied to your sketch. So if you want to make changes, all you need to do is you change your sketch, and these frames will automatically update. And the reverse is also possible. For example, if later on, if I want to change some frame components, so what I do is, instead of deleting the frames and creating a new cross section, what I do is just change the cross-section part that is inside my frame folder. So if I change my cross-section part, it is going to reflect on all the assemblies on which that cross-section was used. So be a little careful. So next thing which I'm going to show you is some of the other options how these frames can be customized. So in this case, what I will do is I will select a different cross section, and that cross section is a tube. So instead of round tube, I'm going to pick a square tube and place it on this entire sketch. So what I want to show you is the way these frames interact at the center point. So in order to show you that, let me show you some default, the way this sketch was created. So this sketch had, at the middle, you'll see that these collinear elements, they all meet at the center. So it's not one straight line, so there's a split point at the middle. So, but you will see that there was a split at the middle, but the way Solid Edge creates a frame is it gives you only one frame instead of two. So with ST3, you have more control on these type of conditions. What you can do is, just by editing inside the frames, there's an option here for single frame for collinear segment. So we had a collinear segment, but it was split at the middle. So if I want two frames rather than one, I can uncheck this option, and then you'll see that instead of one, now we have two frames. All right. So there's also one more setting here. The way these frames look like. If you want to toggle, what you can do is inside end condition, you can select this center point, and then there is an option for next collinear option. So what that will do is it will toggle the cross section. So these were some of the enhancements done in ST3. Now what I'm going to do is select another sketch. So last time we saw collinear. Now here we'll cover the tangent elements. So what I'm going to do is select this frame, and now again I'm going to use a round tubing option, square tubing option, and select this entire sketch. So as you can see that even though these two sketches were different, with the intersection point, it generated one continuous frame. So it's just a bent frame. If you don't want it, in the option, one other option that was added in ST3 is a single frame for tangential segments. You can turn the setting off, and then you can have two frames instead of one. Right. So these are some of the ways you can customize your framing components once they are placed or before placing it. So some of the options which we covered were modifying cross sections. We saw how we can define handle points, how we can change the snap points based on the type of cross section we have. Now, one option which we didn't cover is snapping the point, like your key points, snapping based on the key points. Now, you can select any key point. It can be end point, middle point, center point, and then you can snap that cross section on an assembly sketch. And of course, what you can do is you can change the cross section of the part, and all the assemblies which are using that cross section will automatically update. So this is one of the enhancements in ST3. And we did cover this one. It was flip option. Now in this case, you'll see on the left screenshot, this cross section is attached at the bottom right corner. Now if you don't want it, you can flip this over, and it just create a mirror image of that cross section. So that's another way you can manipulate. The way cross sections are attached to your sketch. Now this is left pattern. In ST3, you can pattern your you have options to pattern the different parts. Now if you have a base part and the the base part has a pattern feature. So what you can do is you can pattern your frames. This was another enhancement done in ST3. So we did cover these collinear elements, tangential elements, and let's talk about drafting aspect of framing. So I have this assembly, and all these frame members were created. Now what I want to do is create a bill of materials. So I'll just create a quick drawing. And I'm going to select this isometric view. So inside bill of material, there are different options. So if I go to properties, I can customize this. Maybe I don't want these options like these columns inside my table. So what I will do is I can delete this. Some of the framing specific properties, one of them is called cut length. So what you can do is just select cut length and just add this as a column. So just by clicking OK, I can just place this bill of material. So it automatically pops up the cut length of the frames. Now, what if I want to have some rough clearance added to the frame? Now, if I go to the properties, I can go inside options and give it a value for rough clearance. So here in this case, I'm going to just type 10. And you'll see that if I hit apply, all this cut length 20 millimeters will be added because it's going to add clearance on the both sides of the frame. All right. So what if I want to have say total length? So I'm going to delete this cut length, and now I can change. I can select the total length inside my properties dialog box and add this column, and hit apply. You'll see that as I hit apply, I have a column, but it doesn't have all these values. There is a small switch inside options, and you can turn this on. This option on, hit apply, and you'll be getting your total length of the frames. All right. So that's all I have as far as framing is concerned. There are a bunch of classes coming up next month, and all these details are available on our LIPLM websites. Here's the contact information. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please email us. And thank you very much for your time today.